Hey everyone, ready for something kind of different today. We're doing a deep dive into something called interoception.
Interoception.
Yeah, so we all know about the five senses, right?
hmm
But this one, it's more like a secret sense.
Hmm.
We're going to uncover this eighth sense, using this article, the eighth sense, uncovering the hidden world of interoception in adult autism. It's from Cheap ABA.
Okay.
This is going to be fascinating. Okay, so let's jump right in.
Right.
So what is it? Like, what is interoception really?
Well, I think it's amazing if, we go through the day and we're not really aware of all this stuff that's happening inside our bodies.
Yeah.
We notice the obvious stuff, like you're hungry or you have to go to the bathroom, but there's a whole bunch of other signals that we're kind of missing.
It's like our body's talking to us and we're not listening.
Right.
So interoception is about tuning into all of that.
Exactly. It's being able to sense and interpret these internal signals, like your heartbeat or changes in your breathing, even little tiny muscle tensions.
Yeah.
It's kind of like having a radar system inside you, always scanning your body.
I like that. So instead of just reacting to the world outside, interoception helps us understand what's happening inside.
Yeah.
And it's especially relevant to autistic individuals.
That's right. Research shows that autistic individuals may process these internal signals a little bit differently.
So that could explain why sensory processing and emotional regulation and even just self-awareness can be challenging for some autistic people.
Exactly. And I remember reading about someone who described their anxiety as feeling like bees under their skin.
Wow. Yeah.
That really highlights how these internal sensations can be super intense for some.
Yeah, it's not just about being aware of the sensations. It's about how those sensations are experienced, right?
Yes. And that's where it ties into autism. Because if we can understand how these sensations are being processed, then we can come up with ways to help people manage them better.
That makes sense. So let's talk about the benefits of interoception, especially for autistic individuals. The article mentions some pretty amazing stuff.
Okay, sure.
Where should we start?
Well, how about emotional regulation?
Oh.
For many autistic individuals, identifying and managing their emotions can be really tough. But imagine if you could recognize the physical signs of anxiety, like a racing heart or tense muscles.
Yeah.
You could actually catch it before it completely takes over.
So it's like an early warning system, giving you time to use coping mechanisms before things get out of hand.
Exactly.
I like that. So instead of just feeling overwhelmed by the anxiety, you can start to recognize it in your body and do something about it.
Right.
That's amazing. And it's not just about managing the tough emotions, right? What about the positive ones?
Yes, absolutely. Interoception can help you really savor positive emotions too, like feeling that warmth in your chest when you feel loved, or that lightness in your step when you're excited.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Hmm.
It's like turning up the volume on those good feelings by really noticing them in your body.
Yes. And it's not just about emotions. Interoception is also super important for sensory regulation.
Right, because if you're already sensitive to sights and sounds and touch, then having trouble with interoception could make things even more overwhelming.
Exactly. But here's the good news. If you develop your interoceptive awareness, you can actually start to pinpoint your sensory triggers.
Oh, that's good.
And then you can come up with strategies to deal with them better.
I can see how that would be empowering, Like you're in control of your sensory experience instead of it controlling you.
Absolutely. And it goes deeper than that. Interoception can really boost self-awareness too.
You mean like understanding yourself better?
Yeah. When you pay attention to your internal signals, you start to understand your own needs, your preferences, your limits. And that helps you take better care of yourself, make better decisions, and feel more in control of your life.
So it's like becoming an expert on your own internal world.
Right.
Okay, so we've covered what interoception is and why it's so important, especially for autistic individuals.
Yeah.
But how do we actually develop this eighth sense? The article mentions some specific things we can try.
It does.
Like what?
Well, a lot of people talk about mindfulness meditation.
Mindfulness. I've heard a lot about that lately. But how does that tie into interoception?
Well, mindfulness is all about paying attention to the present moment, without judging yourself.
Yeah.
And with interoception, it means turning that attention inwards, focusing on your breath, and noticing all the tiny sensations in your body.
So instead of getting carried away by your thoughts or what's going on around you, you're training your mind to focus on what's happening inside.
Yes.
Okay.
And the more you practice, the better you get at picking up on those little signals your body's sending you.
Interesting.
It's kind of like exercising a muscle. You're strengthening your interoceptive awareness.
I like that. But sometimes Sitting still and meditating just seems impossible.
Oh, I get it.
Are there other things we can try that are a bit more, I don't know,
Definitely. There are lots of ways to explore interoception, and it's about finding what works best for you. Like the body scan is a good one.
the body scan? What's that?
It's pretty simple. You lie down or sit comfortably, and you just bring your attention to different parts of your body, starting with your toes and working your way up to your head.
So it's like you're shining a spotlight on each part of your body.
That's a great way to put it. And as you focus on each area, you just notice the sensations you feel without judging them. Is there warmth, tingling, pressure, tightness? You just observe.
So no need to overthink it. Just observe.
Right. And even just a few minutes of this every day can make a huge difference in how well you tune into your body.
I like that. It's funny. We teach kids about the five senses all the time, but we hardly ever talk about interoception.
That's true.
It seems like such a missed opportunity. Learning about this early on could be really helpful.
Yeah, especially for autistic individuals who might need more support in this area.
Definitely. But it's never too late to start exploring, Brianna.
Absolutely not. And there are even more techniques beyond mindfulness and body scans that we can talk about.
Well, let's keep going then.
Yeah.
I want to learn about those other techniques and hear how our listeners can actually start using them in their lives.
Let's do it.
So we talked about mindfulness and body scans as ways to develop interoception.
Right.
What other tools can we use?
You know how we were saying interoception is like our bodies talking to us in a secret language?
Yeah,
Well, one way to learn that language is through sensory exploration.
or like that. But what does that actually look like? How do we do it?
Well, it's all about engaging your senses, but mindfully. Like really paying attention to what's happening inside as you experience different things.
Okay.
Like savor the taste of a cup of tea, or feel a soft blanket against your skin, or even notice the vibrations of music going through you.
So just everyday things, but we're really focusing on the internal sensations.
Exactly. And for autistic individuals, that could be really helpful. For example, a lot of autistic people find deep pressure really calming. So something like using a weighted blanket while you watch a movie or listen to music,
Right.
that can be a great way to really tune into those feelings of pressure and grounding.
It's about finding those sensory experiences that work for you
Yeah.
and really being present with how they feel in your body.
Yeah.
I like that.
And the key is to do it mindfully. Don't just go through the motions. Really stop and ask yourself, what sensations am I noticing?
Yeah.
How do they make me feel?
It's like you're a detective trying to figure out what your body's trying to tell you.
Exactly.
That's a great way to put it.
And speaking of detective work, journaling can be another powerful tool.
Journaling, what do you mean?
Well, it's like keeping track of those conversations you're having with your body.
Okay.
Every day, just write down any strong internal sensations you notice.
Okay.
Like, did your heart race during a meeting? Did your stomach feel funny before you had to do something social? Just note it down.
Gotcha. So we're paying attention to those sensations and then writing them down.
Right. And the next step is to see if you can connect those physical sensations with your emotions and thoughts.
Okay.
So if your heart was racing in that meeting, ask yourself, what was I feeling at that moment? What was going through my head?
We're going deeper than just noticing the physical feeling. We're
Yeah.
trying to understand the whole picture.
Exactly. And over time, you might start to see some patterns.
Mm.
Maybe you always get an upset stomach before social events because you're kind of anxious.
Yeah.
Or maybe you feel a tightness in your chest when you're overwhelmed.
Those patterns can be really helpful, right? Like you're figuring out your body's secret code.
Yeah, you're understanding what those signals really mean. And that can be really powerful. It gives you a much deeper understanding of yourself and how you react to things.
This makes me think about those gut feelings we sometimes get.
Hmm.
Do you think that could be connected to interoception?
You know what? Some researchers believe that intuition is actually based in interoceptive awareness. So those subtle body signals, they might actually be guiding our gut feelings.
So it's not just some mystical thing. There could be a real physical explanation.
Exactly.
I love that.
And that's what's so cool about interoception. It connects our physical sensations with our minds and emotions.
Okay, so we've talked about mindfulness, body scans, sensory exploration, and journaling.
Right.
But why is all this important? What's the big picture? Why should our listeners care about interoception?
Well, especially for autistic individuals, developing interoceptive awareness can make a huge difference.
In what way?
It's not a magic cure, of course,
Yeah.
but it can give you tools to navigate the world more easily and just feel better overall.
So it's about more than just managing the tough stuff. It's about being your best self.
Exactly. By learning to listen to your body, you gain insight into your experiences. You come up with better ways to cope with challenges, and you just understand yourself better.
And I imagine that can spill over into every part of your life, right?
Mhm.
Your relationships, your work, everything.
Definitely. It's about empowering people to take control of their own well-being.
I love that. But before we wrap up, I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier about teaching kids about interoception.
Yes.
I'm really curious to hear more about that.
Yeah.
What do you think is the best way to support young people, especially those on the autism spectrum, to develop this sense? It's
Yeah.
like we spend so much time teaching kids about the world outside themselves.
Yeah.
But what if we put more focus on their inner world?
Mm.
Like teaching them how to recognize their body sensations,
Mhm.
what they're feeling, how to connect those things.
Exactly. It's like giving them this instruction manual for their own bodies.
Right.
So instead of feeling overwhelmed or confused by their emotions and their senses, they have the tools to understand them.
That would be amazing.
And think about how that could change the way we teach and support autistic kids.
Hmm.
Imagine classrooms where interoception is just part of what they learn. They could learn about body mapping, do some mindful movement activities, have access to sensory tools that help them regulate.
It's like a whole new way of thinking about things.
It is.
Instead of just trying to manage behavior, we're actually getting to the root of the experience.
Exactly. And the best part is these skills are useful for everyone,
Right.
not just autistic kids. Imagine a whole generation growing up with this strong sense of self-awareness,
Yeah.
emotional regulation, resilience.
That's a powerful thought.
Yeah.
But okay, realistically, making this happen, bringing interoceptive awareness into schools and therapy and families, that's a big task.
It is.
Where do we even start?
Well, first, people need to understand how important it is.
Yeah.
Educators, therapists, parents, they need to see the potential.
Okay.
And then we need to fight for resources, training, so those people can actually help kids develop this sense.
So it's a team effort. Raising awareness, advocating for change, and making sure the support is there.
Exactly.
We can all play a part.
And, even small things can make a difference. Parents can start incorporating little interoceptive practices into everyday life with their kids.
Like what?
Simple things, like when your child is having a feeling, name the feeling.
Okay.
Play sensory games, practice mindful breathing together.
I like that.
It's about creating an environment where interoceptive awareness is valued right from the start.
Right from the start. I love that. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive into interoception,
Yep.
I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
What about this? What little body signals did you notice today? Maybe a little warmth in your chest while we were talking.
Yeah.
Or a little energy in your hands and feet. Whatever it is, take a second and acknowledge it.
Like a reminder that your body's always talking to you, giving you these little clues about what's going on inside.
So listen closely, pay attention, and see what you discover.
And to our listeners, if this has sparked your curiosity, keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, keep listening to your body. It's full of wisdom.